All right, let's talk about the Microsoft MS-700 exam. If you're looking to get that Teams Administrator Associate certification, you're in exactly the right place. Today, we're going to lay out a super clear step-by-step roadmap to get you from day one of studying all the way to certified. Let's dive in.
Okay, first things first, let's just get this out on the table. If you started studying and you're feeling like, wow, this is a lot, well, you are not alone. As one Reddit user put it so perfectly, this exam is brutal. And you know what? They're not wrong. It's a tough exam, but that's because it's testing real-world skills. But don't let that scare you. Brutal doesn't mean impossible. It just means we need a really solid plan. And this is what it's all about. This is the prize at the end of the road, the official Microsoft 365 Certified Teams Administrator Associate badge. And look, this isn't just some digital icon for your profile. This is a credential that tells the world you really know your stuff, that you can plan, deploy, and manage Microsoft Teams for an entire organization. In today's world, that's a seriously valuable skill to have. So here's our game plan, our 5-part roadmap. We're going to look at the challenge, decode the exam blueprint, build out your study toolkit, nail down your strategy, and then finally, conquer the exam itself. Let's get going with decoding that blueprint. You know, the first rule of tackling any big challenge is to understand exactly what you're up against. You wouldn't climb a mountain without a map, right? So we're not going to take this exam without knowing precisely what's on it. This is how we make sure we're focusing our energy where it's going to matter the most. Now, this is maybe the most important key to your entire study plan. Just look at this breakdown. A massive 40 to 45% of the entire exam is focused on configuring and managing the team's environment. That's nearly half. That right there tells you where your #1 priority should be. The other areas are absolutely critical too, of course, but this chart is your road sign pointing to where you need to spend the biggest chunk of your time. So what do those percentages actually translate to? Well, environment is the big picture stuff. Network settings, security, compliance, all that critical governance. Then you have Teams and apps, which is more of your day-to-day management. Meetings and calling gets into all the real-time communication tools, and troubleshooting is pretty self-explanatory. It's about being the hero who keeps everything running smoothly. You've got to know both the high-level strategy and the in-the-weeds details. And get ready for a mix of question styles. This isn't your average multiple-choice test. You'll probably see case studies that describe a business problem you need to figure out. And here's the big one. A lot of people report getting hands-on labs, where you are literally dropped into a live Teams admin center and told to go configure something. This exam isn't just testing what you know, it's testing what you can do. Okay, so now that we know what to study, let's talk about how we're gonna study. It's time to build your toolkit with the right resources. And let me be really clear about this. We're talking about effective and, just as importantly, ethical preparation. Your first stop should always be the official source. Microsoft gives you a ton of amazing free resources to work with. The study guide is your main checklist of topics. The free practice assessments are gold for finding out what you don't know yet. The exam sandbox is awesome. It lets you play around with the exam interface so there are no surprises on test day. And Microsoft Learn, well, that's your encyclopedia for everything. Now, we have to talk about the elephant in the room, exam dumps. It is so important to know the difference here. Legitimate practice exams are designed to help you learn and understand the concepts. Exam dumps, on the other hand, are literally stolen questions. Using them is cheating, plain and simple. It violates Microsoft's rules, and if you get caught, they can revoke your certification and even ban you from taking future exams. It's just not worth it. The real goal here is to become a skilled admin, not just to pass a test. And here's why you don't even need to think about dumps. This is an absolute game-changing tip from a Reddit user who crushed the exam. The MS-700 is an open book exam. You heard that right. You get access to the entire Microsoft Learn website during the test. This is huge. If you get a question about a tricky PowerShell command or some obscure policy, you can actually look it up right then and there. It's testing your real-world ability to find and apply information, not just rote memorization. So you've got the tools. Now we need to put them to work with a real strategy.
Having a solid game plan is what turns all those resources into real knowledge. And honestly, it's often what separates people who pass from those who don't. Here's a simple but really powerful 4-step approach. 1. Make a schedule. Consistency is everything. 2. Don't just read facts, apply them. Ask yourself, okay, how would I use this to solve a real problem at work? 3. Constantly test yourself with practice quizzes. They'll show you exactly where your gaps are. And 4, join a community, like the Teams subreddit. Seeing other people's questions and experiences is an incredible learning tool.
And speaking of details, here's a great example of the level you need to go to. Governance is a huge part of that big environment slice of the exam. You absolutely have to know the difference between things like an expiration policy, an access review, and a retention policy. And, this is the key, you have to know the specific license required for each one. Trust me, these kinds of details are prime material for exam questions. All right, you've studied the blueprint, you've got your toolkit, you've mastered your game plan. Now it's time to face the final boss, exam day. Let's walk through the logistics so you can go in feeling confident and prepared.
So here are the key details. You've got 100 minutes for the exam. You can take it either online with a proctor watching, or you can go to a physical test center. You'll schedule it through Pearson VU. And here's a little pro tip. Make sure you register using your personal Microsoft account, not your work account. That way, your certification stays with you even if you change jobs.
700. That's the number. That's the goal. To pass the MS-700, you need to get a score of 700 or higher. But, and this is a really important point, a score of 700 does not mean you got 70% of the questions correct. Microsoft uses scaled scoring. That means they adjust the passing threshold based on how difficult the specific questions you got were. So if you happen to get a harder version of the test, you might be able to miss a few more questions and still hit that 700 mark. After the test, you'll get a score report that has a bar chart that looks something like this. These bars show how you performed in each of the main skill areas. A long bar means that's a strength for you. A short bar means that's an area you might need to work on. These are an incredibly valuable tool for understanding where you stand. And hey, what happens if you don't pass on the first try? First of all, do not panic. It happens to a lot of people. Microsoft lets you take it again after just 24 hours. And now you have an amazing tool, your score report. Look at those short bars. That's your new personalized study guide. Focus on those weak areas, brush up your skills, and then go in and nail it the second time. So once you pass and get that awesome badge, your journey isn't quite over, but it gets a lot easier. These certifications expire every year to make sure your skills stay fresh. But the good news is, renewing is super simple and completely free. You just have to pass a short online assessment on Microsoft Learn. No proctor, no stress. So there it is, the complete roadmap for passing the MS-700. We've decoded the exam, we've built the toolkit, we've laid out the game plan. You have the blueprint right in front of you. So the only question left to ask is, what's your first step? Thanks for joining us.